Talking about Dutch Mantel, quoted by Meltzer's figure for online letter. He said, Dutch Mantel is not doing well, nor is his wife Kathy. He's battled sepsis twice over the last year. Both times, he took his life. He had a month-long stay in the hospital. After the second time, he and his wife have both had sepsis and diverticulitis to the point that she's been hospitalized 11 times since May, just had an emergency bowel resection surgery, and has lost 70 pounds. Because of the extended hospital stays, their insurance and life savings are depleted and started a GoFundMe because both still need home care. They've raised around $64,000, which they're actually way above that right now, with the top donors being anonymous. And the largest known donors were Tony Khan at $5,000 and Chris Jericho at $1,500. With Tony Khan, many have pointed out that Dutch Mantel as a podcaster was brutal to Khan and even being critical of him.
Oh, there it is. There it is. Fuck off.
Even being critical of him when the promotion was at its popularity peak, and recently criticizing him for the contract terms that Swerve Strickland got in his recent deal. It is something when a former wrestler gets mad at a promoter who clearly can afford it for what he pays for the talent.
Fuck all the way. Who wrote this, Meltzer?
Meltzer. Let me continue. Let me finish before we go off on this. And he was doing it even after he knew that the new deal was put together that was going to make the company exceedingly profitable. Wrestlers using the
I can't listen to this. This guy's a fucking... What a piece of shit.
Fucking...
Don't you feel like an asshole now? Because he said that his wrestling show wasn't good, and he still gave him money. Fuck you,
I literally just
fucking piece of shit.
I just responded. So make sure to donate, even though he hurt Tony Khan's feelings.
I'm right. Oh, would you?
He literally described how poorly Dutch is doing. He described how poorly Dutch's wife is doing. He talked about the ailments that both of them are suffering, that they've been in the hospital 11 times, that they need money in order to live, to get this home care. He went into it in detail. Dave Meltzer was very, very fucking acutely aware of Dutch Mantel's position before coming in hot and saying, but Tony Khan was his biggest donator.
But to the rescue, here comes Tony, even though he made fun of... But dude, this is how fucking sick these people are in the fucking head. I'm sorry. There's no nice way to fucking say this. He made fun of his wrestling show. Motherfucker, he didn't make fun of it. The guy booked wrestling for fucking ever. He knew exactly what he was talking about. He knows way more. This guy, with his body eating itself, knows more about wrestling than Tony Khan will ever know.
Oh, yeah.
Ever know. And the fact that he's like, oh, he said that even though he made fun of his wrestling show. Motherfucker, you should have been paying this guy for information for years. For years, you should have been giving him money just to, dude, what do you think I should do with this? What should I do with that? Instead, he's taking advice from Will Washington. Fuck off, $5,000.
Right.
It's like me giving you a fucking nickel.
Right, as a billionaire. Right. But not even just that. But just, dude, literally describing the fact that him and his wife are dying. Literally dying. But thanks to Tony Khan, a guy who Dutch Mantel heavily criticized, Tony Khan single-handedly will save Dutch Mantel's life. Because that's how magnanimous and what a great, glorious human being that the fucking Tony Khan is to donate $5,000 American dollars to Dutch Mantel and his wife.
I want to apologize to the Patreons real quick because I have a request of you. To where he said, he almost died, but then he was saved by Tony Khan. What a fucking pig. What a pig he is for even attempting to, in that moment, to shoehorn in fucking suckery of Tony Khan's balls. That's sickening. That is truly fucking sickening.
I just hate the way he minimizes their plight. And what is he trying to tell us, Joe? What is, for the people that are spending $16 a week on this fucking, his ad, his personalized ad, what is this trying to tell his readers? Like, what is the point of this? Is he trying to get the diehard Dave Meltzer fucking Kool-Aid drinkers, the AEW Kool-Aid drinkers, to kind of go, here you go, Dutch, here's $10, even though you hate my favorite.
Even though you're mean to Tony.
Right.
Oh, fuck you. Fuck you. Dude, what was there? There was a clip like a week or two ago, not even, where somebody brought us up to Disco Inferno.
Oh, yeah.
And Disco Inferno didn't say anything.
He was quiet.
He was just like, all right, whatever.
I was thinking, I'm like, Disco doesn't like us very much. It's probably me he doesn't like, and I'm like, oh, what did I do to Disco?
No, I don't think we did anything to him. I think he just doesn't know who the fuck we are. It was probably just like, oh, someone's just plugging some fucking Mark podcast. I don't know, whatever, blah, blah, blah. So I didn't take it personally. I just found it funny because they put our podcast logo on a YouTube video for them.
Yeah.
And the extent of it was a fifth of a second shout out, and Disco just kind of be like, yeah, whatever, I don't know. Fuck.
I know their producer listens to us. He's actually done the Phil Marks show, and he's shouted us out a few times. Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's nice. Okay, that's cool. Thanks, dude. If he happens to come across this, thanks. But it is just fucking hilarious to me. Now imagine, God forbid, something happened to Disco, right? Something happened to, he had a car accident or heart attack, whatever the fuck, right? And then, for whatever reason, he had a GoFundMe up. Think of how ridiculous it would sound if you and I, to put this into equation, because once again, Tony Khan's a billionaire, if both you and I gave $2 to Disco Inferno because he had a heart attack, and we then said, you know, even in spite of the fact that he was dismissive of us on the YouTube clip, we just felt like it was the right thing to do to give Disco Inferno $2.
Oh.
I mean, guys, I'm just saying, even though he didn't take our show seriously in that moment, but we did give him $2. So, just so you know, just think about that the next time you're saying, oh, I don't know if I like this Wrestling Soup podcast, miss. We came through in the bind and got him a small coffee, so, you know.
But the topper is, we would be unironically proud of ourselves for saying that.
Right.
That's the top. That's the frosting. Dave Meltzer said this in his letter, and he was proud of himself for saying it.
Right. I know. Oh, I guess that's a real big thing.
Right.
And like I started saying, you know, money is money. $5,000. I mean, in that situation, assuming that Dutch has health insurance, which he very well might not, because we live in the United States of fucking America, where you could be a 60-year-old person, and they can say, there's Medicaid or Medicare. You know, here's your basic shit, but we'll think about everything else because, you know, you spend your whole life working, and then when it's time for you to die, it's fuck off.
Right.
But, you know, $5,000 is still better. It's helpful. It's helpful, for sure. But to look at a fucking billionaire. By the way, Chris Jericho, if I remember correctly, and someone can fact check me on this, but I remember this number was pretty decent. I think he gave $5,000 or $10,000 to the fucking Necro Butcher.
Right.
When the Necro Butcher got injured in Japan. By the way, the Necro Butcher,
I will say
not exactly a guy with the best reputation.
I won't shit on Chris Jericho, because Chris Jericho's given a fan.
He does. He gives his money to a lot of people.
Yeah, Chris Jericho, I mean, way more than Tony Khan. I know people are saying that Tony Khan gives his money everywhere. I'll be honest, I haven't seen it on a few. Sure wasn't on Lufisto's GoFundMe.
No, well,
but I have seen Chris.
I mean, he should have given her money, even though she was mean to him. She said mean things like your locker room's toxic, and then, by the way, his whole fucking company's falling apart because his locker room was toxic.
Right.
So I mean,
I've seen Chris Jericho's name on a bunch of different indie wrestlers, as well as just regular people. Like, as far as the weirdness of Chris Jericho, he's very free flowing with his money. He is. He's very happy to help in charitable causes. I can't knock him in that vein. It's one of those good things. You know, it's like one of those really good things that somebody does. Chris Jericho seems to be pretty regular to donate to charities and make sure that people are going through.
And Foley, and by the way, I'm not sitting here trying to pocket watch motherfuckers, because, you know, it is what it is. I can't.
No, it's weird that it's highlighted like that. Like, why does it even need to be?
Right.
You know what? If he was serious, here's where you can tell that this entire part of the article is dishonest, because Dave Meltzer comes out first and says the top donors being anonymous, but he doesn't mention how much money was donated by the anonymous people. So it wasn't about, hey, look, people are coming through with these great big donos. People are coming through to help out Dutch with these great big donos, because he follows that up immediately with, oh, and Tony Khan donated $5,000. Oh, and Chris Jericho donated $1,500.
And then said he donated that in spite of the fact that he offered.
But this whole thing would have had a different premise to me.
Gross.
It would have had a whole different premise to me if he said, oh, the anonymous people donated $20,000. I'd have been like, God damn, there's some big donators that love Dutch Mantel. That would have been more.
Yeah, if he'd have said there was a large anonymous donation of whatever it was, $10,000. Also, Tony Khan, owner of AEW, donated $5,000, and Chris Jericho, someone who's consistently, donated to the causes of wrestlers in need, donated blah blah blah, and then we move on with our lives instead of sprinkling it with passive aggressive fucking nonsense.
I agree with Jeff. Probably the big anonymous donators might have been either Vince or Jake Hagar.
Yeah, or Jake. No. I thought you were going to say Jim Cornette.
Jim Cornette is on it too. Yeah.
Yeah, Cornette probably.
But yeah, Jim Cornette would have put his name on it, don't you? Maybe not.
Yeah. By the way, just I got my voice a little bit elevated here. I mean, let's just blow out the old hole that is my throat.
Oh, Cornette gave $5K. Wow, wait a minute.
Wow, he didn't mention that though.
Wow, what a piece of
Dave did not mention it.
Earning rewards for feeding your little carnivore is good, but
wow, that's weird.
God damn.
God, he's fucking gross. What a gross human. Oh, God, it irks me. By the way, to talk about Jake Hagar or Jack Swagger, whatever you want to fucking call him in that moment, I hope he is that big an anonymous donor, just for the fact that this guy has all that shit going on in his life. He's on there fucking cocaine spurging out about fucking Trump, when the only person who has ever made him remotely over or successful in his career and his life is dying of fucking poop sepsis.
I'd like to think.
You can't show up for that. You're posting about, Tony Khan is a fucking communist. You should be posting about Dutch Mantel, a guy who literally mentored me and I wouldn't have a fucking flicker of a career without, is in need right now. Please go and donate to him. I will make sure that all the money that Tony Khan paid me to be a goddamn
hello
fucking leech for years, I make sure to cut a big fat fucking check for him, because I'd be nothing without him.
Honestly, as weird as this might sound, as much as we like James, I don't think James should be the one that's spearheading this. I understand that he currently works with Dutch, and he's been working with Dutch for a while, but I agree with you. I think, if anything, who should be pushing this GoFundMe should be Jack Swagger.
Now he can't, because he decided to have a fucking...
He can still do it. He can fucking still do it. Fuck the political people. He can still fucking separate that from Dutch Mantel's health. He could easily do... What, you think he just
can't? People aren't going to trust him. People aren't going to trust him.
Why not? It's not self-serving. It's literally for somebody else.
He came off like a fucking wackadoo or a fucking junkie. People aren't going to want to send
I think they will. I think they'd be perfectly fine, because they're not sending Jake money. They're sending Dutch Mantel money.
Now, so.
You know what I mean?
But they might think he's fucked up now. They might think it's a drug thing because of how that came off. That didn't come off as measured. It wasn't like, this is my opinion. That was like, dude, I just blew a couple fucking lines. Let me open up the old fucking X app and see what happens.
If he says something shady, donate it to my PayPal account, I would agree with you. I would agree.
Donate it to my PayPal account and mark it as pill money.
Yeah, mark it as Dutch money. Right. But that's what I'm saying, is if he's plugging Dutch Mantel's thing and he's telling a story about him and Dutch, like, Jesus Christ, that's what people want to hear right now. People want to hear that connection. People want to hear not just from guys like James, but people that,
hello
Dutch Mantel worked on the road with. Vince Russo. I know people hate his guts too, but Vince Russo worked with Dutch for fucking over a decade. Vince Russo should be out there with videos talking about his times with Dutch to come forward and help Dutch. You know, it just doesn't make sense to me. This weird
that's-
myopic fucking viewpoint that all these wrestlers have. That's, oh, we'll let Dave Meltzer report on it and tell everybody who the biggest donors are.
Yeah, let Dave Meltzer report on it and make it all about sucking off Tony Khan. Give me a
Right, that's what I'm saying. Dude, I'd rather hear,
these people are sick.
as fucking weird and gross as Jake might be right now, I'd still rather hear him tell stories about his time working with Dutch, about how Dutch mentored him and made him a shit ton of money, and maybe revisit some of the storylines and angles that we knew and loved from his position, and trying to bring awareness to a guy like Dutch. But nobody will do that on their own. And the people that actually have connections to these people won't do that because everybody has their hand out behind their back looking for scratch up, as opposed to doing something unanimously beneficial to a guy that meant something to these people and fucking help them out.
It really just, I don't think that, like I said, you know, I'm not going to pocket watch. I can't, everybody has their problems right now with money. I mean, shit's expensive. The world is
Dixie
not
should be out here talking.
Oh, that's true, yeah.
Jeff Jarrett should be out here talking.
Oh, I mean, Jeff Jarrett's not going to say anything, though, because he was mean to Tony Khan.
Oh, get the fuck
This
out
is
of here.
just-
Jeff Jarrett's
I
bigger than,
know.
let's be honest, Jeff Jarrett is more valuable than AEW as a whole.
Right, he's not wrong. And I made fun of Jeff Jarrett forever, man. But now, boy, oh boy, do I got to kind
Just
of...
by time alone. The fact that Jeff Jarrett has kept his head above boiling water for 20 fucking years is a goddamn feat. Jeff Jarrett is worth more than almost anybody else on the Conrad network, if you ask me. Really?
Well, you know what? Speaking of Conrad, let me just point this out, and I want this to be on record, and I want to be as fair as possible to everybody that fucking hears me say this. If a piano fell on me tomorrow, and a GoFundMe came up, and Conrad donated $500, or even $50, or even fucking $5,
Hello.
they're all the awful shit that I fucking said, making fun of him and his stupid podcast network and his dumb voice and his bad shows for years. If somebody was to say, hey, Conrad donated it, I'd say thank you. Thanks, Conrad. That was nice of you. But for the love of God, don't allow it to become a thing where it's, you know, Conrad was so generous with giving Joe $5, even though he called him fat and pig vomit, dumped on him. No, that negates the whole thing, you putz. And by the way, Tony Khan in this situation, this is not him, but it's a surrogate for Tony Khan's voice at this point. He might as well just be direct. Tony Khan might as well be using Dave Meltzer's hands as a megaphone.
Right.
And that's what bums me the fuck out, because it's, look how generous Tony Khan was. He's such a nice, good boy. He's so good to him. You know what? When this does die, and the War and Peace novel that is written called The Death of AEW, something like this might feel like just a little sprinkle of pixie dust on the story, but it really is yet again another indicative Dave Meltzer jamming his foot in his mouth, Dave Meltzer taking even a nice deed and making it about his goddamn shitty message. And also at the same point, whenever something happens to Dave Meltzer, whenever karma drops a fucking dime on him, whatever happens, I won't feel bad for a fifth of a fucking second. I won't feel bad for that guy for a moment. He's a parasite. He's a gross, shitty person.
You want to know another funny thing about all of this? You know whose name wasn't mentioned on the donor list? Dave Meltzer.
No shocking.
I'm just saying,
Get out of here.
for all this pomp and circumstance and all this fucking self-relating, it's funny.
Dave Meltzer has made more money than fucking not Jake, that Dutch has probably made in the
more than Jake Hagar, too. No, you're not wrong. Like, fuck. He did not mention, he did not put his name on the donor. Now, I don't know if he did donate or not, but I just think it's kind of weird. If you're sitting there self-relating all these people, it's interesting that you didn't put in $500 to make sure that we can help get Dutch healthy.
Because he doesn't know how to be a person. He doesn't know how to be a person. He really doesn't. And that's why the newsletter is dying. That's why it only relates to the absolute most spurgy, weird motherfuckers that are still paying money to listen to this guy barf out shit that makes no sense and is all incredibly fucking slanted and incredibly fucking biased. And still to me, it makes me laugh when people go, "Oh, here's me. I'm supporting a small fucking business." You know what? Let me see how much money Tony Khan is giving Dave Meltzer. I'm sorry. If you still don't think Tony Khan, if we found out that Dave Meltzer himself had somebody in his family or he himself had some sort of health ailment, that Tony Khan was bankrolling it, I wouldn't even blink a fucking eye. Right. Because that to me would justify the fact that this guy acts like this. But it's gross. No one will probably ever really mention it ever again. It'll just be forgotten about in a 24-hour cycle. But, Dave Meltzer, I wish nothing but the worst on you for the rest of your natural life. You're a sick fucking weirdo.
And the reason that the wrestling industry is the way it is has a lot to do with Dave Meltzer.
Yeah. He's got too much power.
You know what I always think of on an offshoot? There was a scene, I forgot where it was from, but Britt Baker, after a match, is completely covered in blood. And she says, "I hope Dave Meltzer gives me 5 stars," or something.
Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah, it's sickening. It's fucking sick. It's gross. Did I do a good job, Dad? Did I do a good job, Daddy? Did I do a good job for you? I don't think about it.
Franchise knows it was AEW All Access. It was during one of the All Access shows, Lightning. Like, it was out there for a while. You could probably find a meme, even in Discord. There it is. Goddamn filthy. I love filthy.
Maybe Meltzer will like let's fucking do it. I already told you that's my goal.
That's her goal, is to get on Meltzer's star list. Yeah.
That's disgusting.
Brightspeed is giving